Welcome back to Stories Aloud, where stories quietly change the way we live. Today, we explore Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life, a philosophy that teaches us how to live with purpose, calm, and joy. This is not about rushing towards success, it's about learning why you wake up every morning. We are plunging into a powerful book that unlocks the astonishing secrets of centenarians on the remote Japanese island of Okinawa. Imagine a place where people live past 100 with enviable vitality, suffering fewer chronic illnesses, and carrying an uncommon joy. Is it the tea? The climate? The answer lies in a single mysterious word: Ikigai, the happiness of always being busy. We will uncover how this ancient concept, alongside disciplined minds, unique diets, and the revolutionary 80% secret, allows people to sidestep the modern scourges of stress and premature aging. Prepare to meet the masters of longevity, learn why Japanese people never truly retire, and discover the path to finding your own existential fuel. We are plunging into a powerful book that unlocks the astonishing secrets of centenarians on the remote Japanese island of Okinawa.
The moment you start researching the world's longest living people, you keep bumping into this one single, almost magical Japanese word: Ikigai. It's the philosophy that seems to underpin not just a long life, but, a happy, purpose-driven one, especially for the people of Okinawa.
It's the perfect word for this, really, because it captures a feeling that, well, I think Western culture often lacks. We translate it as the happiness of always being busy, but it's just so much more than that.
Right.
To really get it, you have to understand where it flourishes, and that place is the subtropical Japanese island of Okinawa.
And the data from that island is...
Yeah.
It's truly exceptional.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about a small increase in lifespan. This is a genuine statistical anomaly on a global scale.
Oh, absolutely. If you look at the northern part of Okinawa, specifically a rural town called Ogimi, they call it the Village of Longevity.
The Village of Longevity. Wow.
The numbers are just staggering. They have 24.55 people over the age of 100 for every 100,000 inhabitants.
That's so much higher than almost anywhere else in the world.
Exactly. It just screams that there's some deep underlying cultural secret there. Something that allows not just survival, but real vitality, deep into their hundreds.
Okay, so let's unpack the word itself.
Okay.
Because the linguistics, the way the word is built, it gives you a really profound first clue.
It really does. So in Japanese, ikigai is owo, the first part, ikigai. That translates pretty literally to life.
Okay, simple enough.
But the second part, eigai, that means to be worthwhile. So right away, you see it's a much stronger idea than just happiness. It's about worth.
So it's not pleasure, it's worth.
Yeah.
But you said the characters go even deeper than that. There's this sort of martial arts feel to it.
That's the fascinating part. If you break down the older characters that make up Guy, they carry these other meanings like armor or number one or to be the first.
Armor.
Yeah. So when an Okinawan talks about their ikigai, they're talking about dedicating themselves to this beautiful first-rate purpose, something that gives them their existential armor for life. It's active. It's not passive contentment.
So it's the idea that your purpose is something you put on every morning to face the day, something that protects you, that completely reframes the whole mission for us today.
And that mission is precisely this. We want to pull out the actionable daily principles from Ogimi, the things that you, our listener, can actually apply. We're trying to find the cultural blueprint for a life lived with real purpose.
So let's start with the big picture, the global context. What are the structural things that support a long life everywhere?
Right. So we have to start with the blue zones. It's a term researchers came up with to identify 5 very distinct places around the globe where people consistently live to 100 and beyond, way more than average.
And our focus today is Okinawa, of course, but it's so important to list the others because what they all share, that reveals some universal truths.
Exactly. So you've got Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy.
Then there's Loma Linda, California, which is home to a community of Seventh-day Adventists.
The Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and finally Ikaria, an island in Greece.
Okay, so what jumps out at me immediately is that 3 of those are islands: Okinawa, Sardinia, Ikaria.
It stands out, doesn't it? And while that's not, a single magic bullet, it really implies that some kind of geographical isolation fosters these crucial cultural habits.
How so?
Well, on an island, resources are naturally limited, right? So that tends to force this tight-knit cooperation, that sense of mutual reliance. It becomes a key ingredient for longevity.
So when researchers looked at these 5 very different cultures, what were the common threads, the pillars?
The scientific consensus really points to 4 main things. First, diet. healthy, often calorie restricted.
Okay.
Second, daily low-intensity exercise. Think walking, gardening, not, hardcore gym sessions.
Right. Movement is just part of life.
Third, and this is our focus, finding a purpose. For the Japanese, that's Ikigai. And finally, number 4, forming really strong social ties, community support.
These pillars all seem to point to a life that actively minimizes stress. It promotes constant, gentle movement and relies on plants. But that purpose piece, that's where the cultural difference feels the most well pronounced.
Which brings us directly to Japan's profound anti-retirement ethos.
Yeah, it's often said that our whole Western idea of retirement, you stop working, you pursue leisure, is just completely alien to the Japanese mindset.
It is. There's no direct word in Japanese that means retire in that sense of just stopping completely.
Of leaving the workforce for good.
Exactly. Having an Ikigai is so deeply ingrained that the idea of actively abandoning your role, your craft, your purpose is just culturally foreign.
We've all seen stories of centenarians, 105 years old, still working their craft or tending their garden.
And it's not usually about the money. It's a psychological need. The moment you lose your reason to get up in the morning, that's when the decline really begins.
And this kind of perpetual engagement, it's supported by this incredible community structure in Okinawa, the moai.
The moai system is maybe the most impressive social safety net I've ever read about.
So define it for us. What is it?
It's an informal group of people, maybe 5 to 10, who share common interests. And they essentially become a second chosen family. They are deeply committed to looking out for each other through everything.
And this started with farmers, right?
Yeah, it was born out of agricultural necessity. Farmers would form these groups to share best practices and to collectively support each other when there was a poor harvest. This core idea of mutual help, or yumaru, it just became institutionalized.
The really brilliant part, I think, is the financial structure.
Oh, it's genius. So the members all make a set monthly contribution to the group's pot.
Okay.
This money is used for group activities, parties, hobbies, outings. But here's the critical part. Any surplus funds are given to members on a rotating basis.
Think about the impact of that. It's not just that you're guaranteed to see your friends and celebrate regularly.
It's immediate financial security without the stigma of asking for a handout. If you have a sudden emergency, a hospital bill, your car breaks down, you can get an advance from the moai savings.
It's structural stress reduction. It just takes away so many of those high-stress events that cause us to age prematurely.
It does. It completely mitigates them. There's this local Okinawan expression, Aishiriba chode.
What does that mean?
It translates as, treat everyone like a brother, even if you've never met them before. The moai is just the organizational arm of that philosophy.
So it makes sure that no one is ever truly isolated. And isolation is one of the biggest killers in the modern world.
Exactly. The moai is a conscious cultural defense against it. Everyone's armor is backed up by their community.
Okay, so the moai provides the structural support. But how do we actually find or sustain that purpose? This is where we get into some powerful psychological models. Let's start with logotherapy.
Right. Viktor Frankl's logotherapy. It's a school of existential analysis, and it's all centered on the will to meaning.
And this came out of his experiences in the Nazi concentration camps.
It did. The core idea is that consciously discovering your life's purpose is the primary drive for human existence. It's the key to confronting all our mental anguish.
He argued that most people he talked to felt that humanity needed a reason for living. That's a big contrast with someone like Freud, who was focused on pleasure.
It is. Logotherapy is fundamentally about the future. It's about a meaning that's waiting to be fulfilled, not just analyzing your past traumas over and over.
And this is where that idea of tension comes in, which it's a hard pill for a lot of us to swallow today.
It really is. Frankl believed that mental health doesn't come from a peaceful, symptom-free existence, a world where all your desires are met. Instead, he said health depends on the natural creative tension between what you've already done and what you still want to achieve. That tension is the challenge that pulls you forward.
So in a culture that's just obsessed with removing all discomfort, all stress, Frankl is saying we actually need a degree of it. A high-stakes challenge is essential.
We need that gap between what is and what ought to be, and his own life is the ultimate proof. I mean, while he was imprisoned, tortured, facing death every day, he realized the one thing they couldn't take was his freedom to choose his attitude. And for him, the purpose became surviving to rewrite his lost manuscript on logotherapy. That single mission gave him the strength to keep going when so many others just gave up.
It gave meaning where there was none. And you see this in his clinical cases, too.
The story of the elderly doctor grieving his wife, he was profoundly depressed. Frankl didn't give him advice, he just reframed it.
What did he say?
He asked the doctor, "Imagine if you had died first. What suffering would your wife have had to endure?" And the doctor realized his wife would have been spared this immense pain of mourning him.
Oh.
So Frankl said, "You have spared her that suffering, but the price you pay is to survive and mourn her."
In that moment, the pain wasn't senseless anymore. It became an act of sacrificial love. It gave his life a new purpose.
That's logotherapy. Now let's contrast that with the completely Eastern approach to this, Morita therapy.
Right. Developed by Shoma Morita around the same time, but it takes a radically different path, heavily influenced by Zen Buddhism.
And the core conflict is how it treats emotions. Western therapy often teaches us to control our feelings, to analyze them. Morita says, forget that. Control your actions.
Because feelings are uncontrollable.
Exactly. Your emotional state will change as a result of your actions, not the other way around. He saw emotions as being like the weather.
Like the weather.
Yeah. You can't predict them, you can't control them, you can't get rid of them. Trying to fight off anxiety only gives it more power. You just have to accept your feelings and watch them pass like clouds.
This is so critical for anyone who struggles with anxiety or obsessive thoughts. There's that donkey fable.
Yes. The fable's perfect. A donkey is tied to a post, and it tries desperately to break free by circling and circling.
But all that does is wrap the rope tighter.
Right. Trying to escape your discomfort only traps you further inside the neurosis.
So Morita's principles are, they're simple, but they're not easy.
Not at all. First, accept your feelings completely. Second, do what you should be doing, regardless of how you feel. Focus on the present action. And third, discover your Ikigai, because your actions are the one thing you can control.
To really understand how rigorous this is, we have to look at the original Morita treatment.
Yeah.
It was this highly structured, pretty intense process.
Very intense. It lasted about 15 to 21 days, designed to just shock the patient out of that cycle of self-obsession.
And the first phase.
Yeah.
This is the one that gets me. Isolation and rest.
This is the crucible. The patient was put in a room alone, no TV, no books, no music, no visitors, no talking.
For 5 to 7 days.
Yes. The instruction was just to observe the rise and fall of their own emotions. The goal isn't punishment, it's to force a confrontation. You sit with your thoughts until, inevitably, boredom and the desire for activity become overwhelming.
You're forced to learn that even the most profound fear will pass.
And you only move to the next stage when the desire to do something is stronger than the desire to just think about your anxiety.
That's the catalyst. So phase 2 was light occupational therapy.
Right. Still in silence, still in isolation, the patient starts doing repetitive, simple tasks. Nature walks, breathing exercises, light physical work. They kept a diary, but only of objective facts, no obsessive analysis.
And then it ramps up. Phase 3, strenuous occupational therapy.
Now you're chopping wood in the mountains or doing intense ceramics or writing. The key was physical movement and intense concentration, pulling the focus away from the self and onto the external world.
And finally, phase 4, you return to social life. But now you're armed with these disciplines of mindful action and emotional acceptance, guided by your Ikigai.
It's an incredibly rapid psychological reset, and we see a softer version of this in Nichiren meditation, which is linked to Morita therapy.
This is the one with the 3 questions, right?
Yes. You reflect on a specific relationship and ask, what have I received from this person? What have I given to this person? And what problems have I caused this person?
By flipping the script, by focusing on what you've received and what problems you've caused, it just dissolves that tendency to blame others.
It reinforces the whole Morita principle. You only control your own actions and your response to the world.
Okay, so both Frankl and Morita, from totally different worlds, they point to the same thing, the necessity of an Ikigai. So once we find it, how do we sustain it without burning out?
This is where we shift from purpose to practice, and the answer is found in Mihally's concept of flow.
Flow, that state of optimal experience where you're so completely immersed in what you're doing that time just vanishes.
Yes. For an Okinawan centenarian in their garden, or a master craftsman, flow is how they turn work into a space for growth and enjoyment. Csikszentmihalyi called it the state where the mind is perfectly in order.
You're focused, you're energized, you feel in control, and achieving flow is so crucial because it's the total opposite of the passive pleasure we usually seek, like scrolling on our phones.
Exactly. Flow is active, pleasure is passive. Flow creates long-term growth. Pleasure is just temporary satisfaction.
But to get there, The conditions have to be really precise.
They do. You need clear objectives. You need immediate, unfiltered feedback. And most importantly, you need this perfect balance between the challenge of the task and your own skill level.
The challenge-skill ratio, this is the delicate part, right? To avoid the two big pitfalls.
Exactly. If the task is too easy for your skills, you get bored. You fall into apathy.
If it's too hard, you get anxious and frustrated.
But that sweet spot, the flow channel, it's a task that just slightly stretches your abilities. It demands 100% of your concentration without totally overwhelming you.
It's like incremental mastery.
Perfect way to put it. So strategy 1 to get there is what Joy Ito called compass over maps.
Compass over maps, explain that.
You need an internal compass pointing toward your objective, your general Ikigai. But obsessing over a rigid, detailed map can kill flow.
Right, like we see in big companies with obsessive planning that just masks a vague mission.
Exactly. You need to define your daily objective clearly. I'm going to write 500 words. But once you start, you have to focus entirely on the process, not the pressure of the destination. Writer's block is a perfect example of this.
Because you're obsessing about finishing the whole novel instead of just writing the first word.
You got it. Which brings us to strategy 2, confronting the greatest enemy of flow in the modern world.
The multitasking epidemic.
And the data here is, it's shocking. Multitasking is a myth. Your brain doesn't do 2 complex things at once. It just switches back and forth really fast, and that wastes a huge amount of energy.
What does the data say?
It's verified that switching between tasks reduces your productivity by 60%. 60%. And even more alarming, it can temporarily lower your IQ score by over 10 points. That's a bigger drop than if you stayed up all night.
You're literally making yourself less effective. And there was that Stanford study, right?
Yes, the one on heavy media multitaskers. It confirmed that people addicted to constant switching are actually less able to filter out irrelevant information. Their brains are trained to be distracted.
The flow is impossible without single tasking. We need practical solutions. We need boundaries.
We do. Start with micro habits. Don't look at a screen for the first hour you're awake and the last hour before bed. Turn your phone off or use Do Not Disturb during focused work.
Technology fasting days.
I love that. Or use the Pomodoro technique. Set a timer for 25 minutes, then a 5-minute break. It trains your mind to accept that distraction is just off limits for that short period.
And bundling routine tasks. Do all your emails at once, all your calls at once. Minimize those switching costs.
The goal is always that focused mind absorbed in a task. That's where time becomes enjoyable, not stressful.
To see this focus really mastered, we have to go back to Japanese tradition. Let's start with the concept of ganbaru.
Ganbaru is that spirit of perseverance and relentless effort. It's the unwavering commitment to doing your absolute best in any task, no matter how small.
But I have to ask, how does that relentless effort, ganbaru, fit with the Okinawan mantra to slow down and relax? Don't they contradict each other?
That is the essential tension. In the West, effort means stress, deadlines, pressure.
Right.
In the context of ganbaru, the effort is internal. It's about perfecting the process, not the outcome. The relentless part is your attention, not the speed. The focus itself is relaxing.
And we see this perfected process in the takumis, the master artisans. Tell us about the kumano brush artisan.
A perfect example of flow in ganbaru. This woman is in an isolated area, even wearing a mask, selecting individual bristles for high-end makeup brushes.
A task that requires incredible precision.
Her hand movements were quick, graceful, totally absorbed. She didn't even notice visitors because she was in such a deep state of joyful concentration.
That total absorption, that's the heart of flow. Her ikigai is the task.
We see the same thing in the documentary Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Here's a chef and his son who've spent decades just trying to make the perfect piece of sushi.
Right, and they go to the Fay market every single day to pick the absolute best fish.
They avoid boredom not by seeking novelty, but by seeking incremental improvement in one single craft. Their daily ritual, their ikigai, is so fulfilling they've kept their restaurant tiny.
Only 10 patrons.
Okay.
Because they value the perfect conditions for flow over making more money.
The fulfillment is in the practice, and this connects to Shintoism, the belief that objects have a spirit, a kami. The artisan enters flow to respect that spirit and give life to the object.
Another great example is Hayao Miyazaki, the director of Studio Ghibli.
Oh, absolutely. He insists on drawing every frame by hand. He uses a flip phone from the 90s because his flow comes from pencil on paper, not a computer screen.
He retired, but was back in the studio the very next day.
He said he'll draw until the day he dies. He's often grumpy when interrupted because he is actively guarding his state of flow. His Ikigai comes first.
But flow isn't just for masters. We can apply this to simple daily tasks with something called microflow.
Microflow is just infusing routine activities with concentration to make them enjoyable. We naturally create internal patterns to amuse our minds when we're not being challenged.
Like the Shinjuku elevator operator. A simple, repetitive job, but she turns it into this graceful, dance-like ritual.
Or Bill Gates, who enjoys washing the dishes every night. He clears his mind and tries to do it perfectly in a specific order. He transforms a chore into a focused, meditative moment.
It's about finding the ritual in the routine.
Exactly. And if you need a boost to get there, meditation is the perfect preparatory tool. It trains the mind to overcome distraction, calms the brain, and generates those alpha and theta waves associated with deep focus.
So the path to a flow-fueled life is really built on rituals.
Rituals provide the clear rules and objectives the mind needs. They reinforce that Morita idea that action controls feeling. If you're facing a huge, scary goal, just break it down into daily rituals and focus on enjoying the process.
The happiest people are those who spend the most time in flow.
That's the Okinawan wisdom. It's not about who has the most achievements.
Okay, so to sustain this for 100 years, you need the physical foundation. Let's get into the diet and movement, starting with the most famous secret of all, Hara Hachibu.
Hara Hachibu. Fill your belly to 80%. It's ancient Confucian wisdom. Okinawans stop eating when they are just starting to feel full. They maintain a slight sensation of hunger.
And the science behind this is solid, right?
It's very robust. Caloric restriction is a consistent factor across all blue zones. Eating less reduces cellular oxidation. When your cells process food, they produce free radicals. Less food means less oxidation, less wear and tear.
And there's this protein, IGF-1.
Right, insulin-like growth factor 1. It's linked to growth, but high levels are also linked to accelerated aging. By consistently undereating, Okinawans naturally keep this factor low, which seems to protect them from age-related diseases.
So how do they actually do it?
Simple cultural cues. They serve food on lots of small plates. It psychologically feels like you're eating a lot, but the portions are small.
And the numbers back this up. Okinawan centenarians eat about 1,800 to 1,900 calories a day.
Contrast that with North America, where it can be 2,200 to 3,300. That deficit has a huge protective effect against obesity and diabetes.
But it's not just eating less, it's what they eat. The Okinawa miracle diet.
The key words are nutritional density and radical variety. They eat an astonishing 206 different foods regularly. They average 18 different types of food every single day.
Which is a universal way from the typical Western diet.
It is. Their diet is heavily plant-based. Over 30% of their daily calories come from vegetables, legumes, grains, tofu. Sweet potatoes are a huge staple.
And what about meat and fish?
Highly restricted. Fish maybe 3 times a week. Meat is minimal. And they eat very little sugar and salt.
And we have to talk about the local powerhouses, the antioxidants.
Oh yeah. Staples like miso, nori seaweed, goya, or bitter melon. These are consumed daily, providing constant cellular protection.
But the real star is the local citrus fruit, the shikawasa.
Yes. Ogimi is the largest producer of this small, highly acidic fruit. And it's important because it's packed with nobiletin, a powerful flavonoid antioxidant.
How packed?
The Okinawan variety has 40 times more nobiletin than a standard orange. It's linked to protection against heart disease, obesity, cancer. It's a true local longevity secret.
And they wash this all down with senpincha,
which is a blend of green tea and jasmine flowers. They drink it 3 times a day. It reduces cholesterol, strengthens the immune system, and it's a huge stress reliever.
Okay, from diet to movement. The philosophy here is simple. Move often, but not intensely.
Exactly. They don't have our concept of exercise as this separate thing you do for an hour. Movement is just integrated into life.
Which is critical, because our sedentary life is so dangerous. Sitting for just 30 minutes slows your metabolism by 90%.
And after 2 hours of sitting, your good cholesterol drops by 20%. Okinawans avoid this by just constantly moving, gardening, walking, doing their daily tasks.
And then there's the ritualistic movement. Radio Taiso.
Yes. A structured, low-intensity routine, about 5 to 10 minutes long, often broadcast over the radio and done in groups.
For community unity.
And it focuses on gentle stretching and joint mobility. Simple things like raising your arms above your head, movements we neglect when we're hunched over desks. Even people in wheelchairs participate.
And beyond Radio Taiso, you have the classic Eastern disciplines.
Right. Yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, they all create harmony between body and mind. They are a physical shield against depression and stress. Tai Chi in particular is amazing for balance, flexibility, and protecting against bone density loss,
And they all require flow. They involve defined steps and concentration.
making them the ideal low-impact activities you can sustain with Ganbaru well into your oldest years.
So we have the philosophy, the psychology, the physical framework. Let's listen directly to the masters themselves, the supercentenarians and the Ikigai artists.
The advice from the supercentenarians, people over 110, is often so simple it's surprising. Misao Okawa, who lived to 117, her secret.
Eating sushi and sleeping.
And learning how to relax. Walter Bruning, who died at 114, ate only 2 meals a day and insisted on keeping his mind and body busy, always helping others.
And Alexander Imish, the world's oldest man at 111, his answer was so humble. He just said, I just haven't died yet.
There's a common thread there. Active engagement, humility, and not being obsessed with the outcome of living a long time.
The artists really drive home the psychological need for a perpetual Ikigai, like the great artist Hokusai.
Lived to 88, but in his postscript to 100 Views of Mount Fuji, he dismissed everything he'd made before age 70 as unworthy of notice.
He believed his best work, his true mastery, would only begin after he turned 100. It's the total opposite of retirement.
The motivation to improve and create has to last until your final breath. You see it today with someone like the architect Frank Gehry, still working at 86.
He said his big projects take 7 years. He talked about patience, but also about staying curious. You spend your time, see what's going on, stay curious about everything.
Which brings us to the most practical, actionable advice. The lessons from the Ogimi interviews. This is the blueprint.
We've boiled their advice down into 5 core themes.
Okay, theme number 1, don't worry.
They emphasize this daily practice of minimizing stress. Smile often, keep your heart young, go outside, greet people every day.
Theme 2, cultivate good habits. These are the daily rituals. They all wake up early, 4 to 6 a.m., and start moving.
Gardening is their primary Ikigai.
And they emphasize keeping their fingers busy knitting, crafting. They say it's critical for a sharp mind, and they never, ever skip their Taiso exercises.
Theme 3, nurture friendships.
This is the moai in practice. They literally said, getting together with my friends is my most important Ikigai. The spirit of Uemaru teamwork, mutual help, they're always outside chatting, sharing tea.
They know they're cared for.
Theme 4, live an unhurried life.
Their mantra is slow down and relax. They're busy, but with relaxing tasks. They do one thing at a time, no multitasking.
Which reinforces the flow principle. And finally, theme 5, be optimistic.
Laughter is their medicine. They dance and sing with their grandkids. And they don't just hope to live to 100. They state it as a firm goal.
I'm going to live to be 100. Of course I am. It's a huge motivation for me. It's purpose combined with positive expectation.
So if you look at the whole Ogimi lifestyle, 100% of them have a vegetable garden.
They all belong to a moai. They celebrate constantly. They're always busy, but never rushed.
You just don't see an elderly person sitting passively on a bench doing nothing. They value their traditions, their craft, their responsibility to their community.
So to put it all together, Ikigai is not some grand achievement. It is the constant daily cultivation of purpose.
And that purpose is maintained by the focused action of flow,
Strengthened by the community of the moai.
supported by mindful, low-intensity movement.
And regulated by the 80% full stomach of Hara Hachibu.
What's really fascinating here is how the philosophy just
Yeah.
It fundamentally accepts that life is imperfect.
It does. The Japanese are masters at unifying nature and craft, and Ikigai really embraces the philosophy of wabi-sabi.
Okay, explain wabi-sabi clearly for us. It feels like the secret sauce for serenity.
Wabi-sabi is the recognition that the world is beautiful precisely because it's imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete.
The beauty of an asymmetrical clay bowl or the patina of age on wood.
Exactly. It's finding beauty in the failed steps that were part of a long project. This acceptance just removes that immense pressure to find a flawless, symptom-free life. It acknowledges that the tension Frankel talked about, the struggle, is a natural, beautiful part of existing.
That acceptance leads to real serenity. So if we circle all the way back to the beginning, we learned from Viktor Frankl that our psychological health depends not on peace, but on that natural tension between what we've done and what we still want to do. It requires a perpetual, meaningful challenge.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to carry forward. What new challenging goal, large or small, can you break down into focused daily rituals starting tomorrow?
Something to ensure you are perpetually moving toward your beautiful first-rate purpose, your existential armor, rather than just seeking a peaceful but ultimately empty existence.
Ikigai reminds us that happiness isn't found in big achievements, but in small daily meanings. Purpose grows when passion, patience, and presence meet.
If this resonated with you, share it forward and subscribe to Stories Aloud for more wisdom that lives in the quiet moments. Until next time, keep listening.